Hi everyone, Karen Roby and Daphne LaPrance-Ronguet here for ZDNet, talking today about AI and ethics. And Daphne, this is something we've talked about many times, of course, in the past, certainly a hot topic. And when it comes to, rules and laws regarding AI and ethics, there's really no universal rules or laws on the books. But a new report shows that could be changing.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a new report that was published by policy research firm Access Now, that points to the fact that we need laws to regulate AI. Why? Because AI actually can impact our fundamental human rights. There are countless examples of AI interfering with our rights, whether that is in the public sector, AI being used for welfare, AI being used for healthcare, education. Generally speaking, any AI that is fed a database that has historical data and that carries any kind of bias against a minority, against women, against certain citizens, is likely to make decisions that are biased and unfair, and that will then inform unfair and potentially discriminatory policy making. That's particularly the case in policing. Here in the UK, there was another report that was separate to this one that came out recently, showing that AI systems used in policing seriously lack oversight, and that they result in decisions that are particularly unfair and biased and discriminatory against certain citizens. So based on that, the report says that AI is something that comes under the umbrella of fundamental rights, fundamental human rights. And luckily, here in the EU, we have a legal system and a legal document that regulates fundamental rights. It's the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. And what the report argues is that AI and algorithms should be regulated by that charter, and they should come under the umbrella of that charter as a legal system that has oversight on algorithms. So obviously they recommend a layered system, not necessarily just bans. At the more extreme end of the system, there are bans. For example, they call for a ban on facial recognition that has been used in policing, for example. So in cases where the harms of the AI system can't be mitigated, they call for an altogether ban. But it's a layered system. We can think of different safeguards and different punitive methods as well, that would feed into this legal system in order to better regulate the ethics of AI.
All right, and Daphne, when we talk about what's currently in place, I mean, this is just a fragmented thing. You're right. Where just different organizations have their own codes and their own rules that they follow right now.
Yeah, of course, AI ethics is nowhere near a new topic. It's actually been a hot topic for quite a long time now, and most organizations and businesses and governments have published some sort of code of conduct or ethical principles when it comes to AI. As a matter of fact, there's even statistics that point towards this awareness that is growing. In 2019, only 5% of organizations had some kind of ethical principles in place to govern their use of AI, and that number jumped to 45% this year in 2020. So obviously increasing awareness and more ethical guidelines. The problem with ethics, as argue the researchers in Access Now's report, is that they are not enforceable, they're not legal. There are no consequences for not sticking to the code of conduct that you have created yourself. So what's needed is an external system, a legal system, to enforce those ethics in a way that people will have to stick to and adhere to from the exterior, if that makes sense. So yes, there are examples of ethical conducts, and there is awareness of ethics, but it's not enough. And if anything has proven it, is it's recent events and the recent years that have been rocked by scandal after scandal of private and public organizations misusing AI despite their ethical guidelines. So a legal framework based on fundamental rights would be more appropriate here, according to the researchers.
All right, and Daphne, before I let you go, let me ask you about the timeline. Any word here on when we can expect things to really start moving on this?
So it depends on how ambitious you are with the call, really. It's ambitious to think that there will be a legal framework anytime soon. It's quite hard to make the business case for us. Intuitively, businesses and organizations tend to be a bit reluctant when it comes to legally enforcing ethics. But there is an opportunity here. according to the researchers, especially for an organization, an institution like the EU, that really has an opportunity to lead the way in terms of regulation. So historically, the EU has always been a leader when it comes to regulation. If you look at GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, it's become the golden standard around the world, and it's been a sort of synonymous with quality and with trustworthiness. So there is an opportunity here to do the exact same thing with algorithms and with AI systems, so that the EU has this sort of golden standards around AI, hopefully for other countries to follow suit, just like what happened with GDPR. So it's a real opportunity for the EU to carve its own space in the race for AI against the US and China, most notably, and to sort of take a lead in this space for the better use of AI around the world, really.
All right, Daphne, we'll continue to follow this to see how things progress. We appreciate you watching here today. And for much more on AI, what you need to know, make sure you check out ZDNet.